again. Hope you guys are doing well. As you can tell, it's not going to be a reading right now, at least. I wanted to come back on to give another update to my story. After going back and rewatching the last video, there's some holes in my story that I want to make sure I close the loop on, since nobody plans to come and talk to me anytime soon. So I figured I'd just do you guys the favor of letting you know just how much I do actually know. Plus, this will probably be used as my testimony in the future, because there's a trial coming up. Again, nothing that I was made aware of. Nobody's told me anything. I have not received any sort of correspondence. They're looking for me. But since people want to keep lying on my name and, defaming my character and slandering me to say that I'm unstable and not in the right frame of mind to actually present myself in court, I'll go ahead and just save you guys the trouble so that, you actually have a testimony of mine. Okay? And then, in addition to going through closing the loop on some of the holes in my story, I want to make this as far-reaching of a message as it possibly can be. And so in order to do so, I've realized I need to remove the spiritual vernacular from my statements, because that tends to creep people out. And if you're not super spiritual the way I wasn't 2 years ago, then I think this will make a little bit more sense without me having to say I'm chosen or I am spiritually gifted. What I mean by spiritually gifted is that I have psychic abilities. I came into those powers a couple years ago. I'm not going to dwell on that because I think my testimonies are proof of the fact that I have knowledge that I shouldn't have. It stumps you guys, doesn't it? And that's why everyone is just glued to my story, because it's like, how does she fucking know these things without having a single person to come and actually validate her storyline? So, what I plan to do today is give you guys actual facts. These are things like 3D real world things that have happened to me, and just bits and pieces of my story that all factor into the larger picture. And so all of this information really came flooding back to me, I would say, in the past year, more so than the past 2 years, because the very first year of the past 2, I was just coming to terms with the fact that, I was going through a divorce, and that somebody who I considered a friend just, doesn't want to talk to me, and then just weird shit happening in my life. So I just wasn't even putting the pieces together. I was just managing. I was just trying to survive. But the more I removed myself from the situation and detached from people in my life that I just didn't get a good feeling from, that I just was telling certain things to but not getting the right responses, the more I removed myself from those people, the bigger picture started to show itself and revealed some of the bits and pieces and Easter eggs that have been hidden throughout the course of my life. I started to uncover those and just made mental notes of them to a point to where now I'm at a place where I can put them all together. So you guys are seeing me in real time piecemeal this storyline together. Now you have to be asking yourself, Homegirl has got to be either she's fucking crazy for just coming out and stating a story like this, or she's onto something and she really does have the ability to see things from a different angle and perspective than most people can. And I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I know where I stand on that, because for a long time I did think I was crazy. I didn't know what was happening to me, but now I know, based on the facts that I plan to outline for you guys today. So let's get into it. Again, story's not going to be linear. It's just not until my story is documented in some other form or fashion will it be a continuous storyline. But what I have outlined for you today, because I do have a whole bunch of notes on my computer here. Yes, because of how crazy things were in my life, I started writing everything down. That little tidbit of just a suggestion made by my mom. She told me to write everything down, and I did. So I am taking a little tidbit from my mom's arsenal, and I'm just gonna write everything down, is what I decided. Thank God I did, because I was able to piecemeal timelines and everything together. Before we get into this real quickly, I do want to mention, because I am a spiritual leader, I'm not going to shy away from that. What I want you guys to know is that God will place certain things in your life as a part of your life path. And it's your job to make those connections that will inevitably set you free. For instance, I, throughout my entire life growing up, have always been into just like the moon and stars and astrology and stuff. I was very lightly interested in it as just like a hobby over the course of the last 25 years or so. I just, I would read horoscopes, whatever. I wasn't really big into it. Not until this situation wanted to rear its ugly head, and then I got really into it. And it did save my life. So, tarot and spirituality has saved my life multiple times. But the purpose of me telling you this is that was one little stepping stone in my life path. Going to college, moving to Tennessee, going to college, and getting my degree in the sciences, genetics and biotech, thinking I was going to get into forensic science. That's another stepping stone on my path. The reason why I say that is because all of these things that were seemingly just, experiences in my life that I thought were meaningless and just, a part of my normal journey, has actually come to show itself as like, it's a part of a much grander scheme of things. The fact that I moved away from Michigan, where a lot of this betrayal is happening, that was one step I intuitively took, not knowing at the time where it was leading me. I didn't want to move to Tennessee. I was more or less forced to. But I followed my intuition, and that's what led me here. Again, got into sciences. I was interested in it. Did I do anything with it? No. Got into real estate. But the fact that I am so detail-oriented, and I am neurodivergent, and I do have these gifts, it was just yet another stepping stone on my path to utilize the skills that have been given to me, God-given skills, right? Like I have the knowledge and the background to provide me with at least the ability to have the foresight to take notes and to draw upon my my ability to make connections, right? Thinking I was going to get into forensics. I was really into like true crime type stuff. Thank God, because that actually taught me a lot. Listening to Morbid every single fucking day, because I love those girls. It goes to show that like these little Easter eggs that are placed in your life, they're meaningful. They're not meaningless. And so you have to appreciate them and look at the bigger picture in order to understand how it all fits together. I just wanted to throw that in there because I consistently go back to that notion of like, oh my God, had I not moved away from Michigan, where would my life be? How would it have ended up differently? It was all meant to go this way. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty. Close some loopholes in my story. Hopefully answer some of your questions. And again, this is all based on facts, things that I am actually aware of. So let's get into it. And I do have this fairly organized in chronological order as best as I can. So let's just start from there. All right, so in 2021, 2022, these are all things that have come to me over the past year and a half, just like memories reoccurring, but I'm like, no, that actually might tie into this grander betrayal in some sort of way. So that's why I'm mentioning these things. Because it might help the feds when it comes time to actually look into sort of some of this stuff. So, all right. 2021, 2022, I had a different computer than I do now. Randomly, one day, don't know how it happened. I didn't download any sort of new software on my computer or anything, but I wasn't able to use my computer's camera. It's one of those built-in ones. It's not like an extension. It just stopped working one day. Didn't think much about it. Sort of continued on with using my computer as normal. My entire life's on there. And so yeah, that ability to use the camera never came on. My team can validate this. They will tell you that, yeah, anytime we had team meeting and she was remote, her camera wasn't on. And she told us that it just wasn't working and she didn't know how to like get it back. I tried to reset it to factory settings. I tried to do all the shit. Didn't help. So, was that the beginning of me being hacked and looked into? I don't know. Maybe forensics can go back and look into that. I'll be interested to see what they find out. Simultaneous to this, my husband and I at the time, he's now an ex, we had just purchased a home in South Nashville, our very first home. It was 2019. Couple years into living there, an exorbitant amount of mailbox attacks were happening just to our mailbox. I'm talking like it would be in two. And yes, we do live off a busier street, but nobody else's mailbox was fucked with. I mean, I wrote it down how many times? At least 4 times did our mailbox get attacked, whether it was like somebody just fucking came by and like hit it with a baseball bat. It had like a huge dent in it one time. We didn't fix that. It was snapped in two. I know one of the experiences was from my neighbor across the street. She drove like a really big truck and she was a tiny lady and she didn't know how to fucking navigate her truck, so she backed into it. I saw that happen one day. But the other 3 times, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. I already think that there's a connection to USPS and my mail being taken. This might factor into that. So our mailboxes just kept getting attacked. Snapped in two. We would fix it. I mean, one time we fixed it and the very next fucking day it was broke again. I mean, I was so pissed. I even posted about it on Instagram. So like people that follow me, they might be able to recall some of those posts. That started happening. Well, at least I started noticing it summer of 2022. We were also planning, me and my husband and two friends of ours, just a couple. We were planning a European vacation together, and I had purchased some Veja. Is it Veja or Veja? I like to call it Veja shoes, but anyway, I ordered some. They were not it. They were kind of like the Velcro kind. It wasn't cute. I thought it was going to be cute and like new and edgy. No, it just made me look slow. So I returned them, right? That return never made it to Veja. I lost out on like, close to $200. Am I mad about that? At the time, yeah, but now it is what it is. But yeah, if somebody was redirecting my mail or generally just in USPS not doing the right thing, I have the claim number to that Veja order and me placing a claim with USPS that was never successfully closed. They just randomly closed it out themselves. Didn't even look into it, even though I placed a complaint and called back. So, redirection of mail as a part of this. That's kind of where I tend to think that possibly whatever insurance or social security scams, whatever these people do that have hacked my computer, because by now I'm hacked. Whatever these people do, now we have the government already connected. One government entity at least already connected. I do have the claim number, so if any Good Samaritan agent wants that to look into a little bit more, reach out to me. I'm available. I'll find it for you. All right, so that was summer 2022, right? Now we start really getting into the mix of it. The ex close friend I keep talking to you guys about, he comes into the picture summer 2022. Right around my birthday time, actually. We kick it off, we're just chatting, DMs like on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, it was very innocent and just like friendly chit chat. Nothing that like my husband would be concerned about. Let me say that. So anyway, he comes into the picture. He lives in Michigan at this point. I am in Tennessee, so there's nothing happening anyway. He consistently stays in hotels and like motels. That was one sort of red flag with him that I just didn't understand. I was like, why? Like, he might be going through a divorce, and so maybe his wife has like access to the home and he just prefers to stay in like hotels and motels. He's bougie like that. So it was like, whatever, that's just one sort of red flag. But what I did notice when he had come to town, he was like, I'm going to a music festival this summer, and I think, just like randomly, I'm going to make a surprise visit. I'm going to come to Nashville the night before I go to Chicago. I just want to see you. It's been 20 something years, would love to take you out for a drink and just like catch up for a little bit, and then, I'll be on my way. Was it completely random? Yes, absolutely. But based on our conversations, I was like, this seems really innocent, and I would love to see a friend that I hadn't seen since seemingly high school, possibly even like middle school. It had been like a really long time. So I agreed to that. And what I noticed when he was here in town was that he, first of all, he had like over 300 something odd messages, like unread messages on his phone. And I even made a note about it. I was like, why do you have so many unread like text messages? That gives me so much, like, coming from like a realtor where like I am all about timely responses and getting on that shit and like responding to people. So to see somebody with like 1,000 unread emails, but then like 300 something odd text messages that hadn't been responded to, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So that was another red flag, but I really didn't look too much into that. Now, knowing that's probably like the Tinder people he was communicating with, and I don't know, probably gang affiliations, because he did bring a very large bag of fucking blue pills to Nashville that when we parted ways at night, he was preparing himself to like go to a club and sell them. So I already know he's a drug dealer, but again, red flag that I overlooked. Women, telling you, don't overlook these things. In my head, I was just like, whatever, I'm never gonna see this dude again. He can do whatever he wants. As long as it doesn't involve me, like, I don't care. So anyway, I noticed in his hotel room all these like unread text messages on his phone, but he also had an iPad with him. You know, it was like connected to his phone. And so anytime like he would get a message, that would also ding too. I think the connection between he and his ex, and I will say that this is an assumption, but you guys tell me if I'm right or not. I believe his ex had some sort of access to his iPad, his phone, some sort of way to see the messages coming through. Now, is that his ex-wife or the side piece that he had at the time? One of the two is fucking crazy and was keeping tabs on him and has connections to the government, hacking. Guaranteed she saw the messages between me and him, and that just pissed her off. So that's where I believe the hate campaign against me, the plotting and planning, not only against me, but also against him, came into play. Especially if he was telling me the truth about going through a divorce, which I still don't believe. I still very much believe he's married to this person. But then again, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a couple years, so that might... I don't know about that. But I believe that's where she caught wind of me and just went to town on some sort of hate campaign against me. So that starts. So I meet him summer of 2022. I had yet to have my son yet. I wasn't even pregnant yet. Okay. Simultaneous to that interaction, not making the connection between that and anything else going on in my life at this point, me and my husband started noticing randos, like random ass people walking up and down our street in front of our house daily with their phones out. We had like a group, the place that I used to live has like a group home on the corner. It's like catty corner to our old house. It's, kind of like a safe place. I wouldn't call it a mission or a shelter, but it is church affiliated, and people will stay there after like juvie or incarceration, I would think. It's like a group home to get them on their feet again. Well, I noticed that two people in particular, one, an older white woman, probably mid-50s, 60s, with a tiny little yippy dog. She started walking by our home every single day with her phone. What she was doing with that, I don't know. I'm telling you guys this is just little bits and pieces of information so that it can close the loop on some of these things that, this is just a way for them to keep their eye on us, essentially. Now, is it actually attached to my storyline? I don't know, but these are facts. So there's the older white woman. Now, there was a younger probably, I would venture to say, right out of high school, young black male. Um, Always walking up and down the street with his phone in his hand, multiple times a day. But like, it was like, where are these people going? Because they would walk up the street. You would think that like they're going to a gas station or getting food or something. But no, it would be like a couple hours later and they'd walk back by, nothing else in their hands. It's like they went somewhere but didn't get anything, or it was just weird enough to where this had been it happened every single day for at least 2 years. Did I see those same two people walking by every day? Nothing in their hands, just their phone. Is it connected? I don't know. That starts 2021, 2022. So, was I already being targeted? I've already noticed that like my computer camera doesn't work. Were these people tied to it? I think so. Let's continue on. October, November, December of 2023. I had just had my child. He was born September 2023. September 19th. My family comes to town. You know, they want to see the baby, hang out. Well, I noticed one day, I was just doing my own thing. I think this was like November, December of 2023. My stepmom had come to town, and you know, love it when she comes to town. But the one mental note I made that was so strange at the time that I was like, why the fuck are you doing that? She was looking through, so in the guest bedroom that she stayed in, I have all of I am very organized. I'm OCD. I know when things are moved out of place. I mean, the celebrities and people that were watching me on CCTV will know that I am very organized. Everything has a place. I like things where they are meant to go. And I know if somebody moves something and it's out of place. I just know. So when my mom left, I took her to the airport. I went into my room, and at the time I was, you know, it's December 2023. I'm about to go back to work from maternity leave. I want to use the rest of my maternity leave to sort of like get myself prepared for tax season coming up in early 2024. So I had all my tax docs out, like all of my unfiled receipts and stuff like that. Yes, I still do my own taxes. It's like an issue I have. It's something that I just like need to not do myself anymore because it's so time consuming. But I had all those documents out. Well, I walked in and my mom she's a nosy fucking person anyway, but she was shuffling through papers. I just slowly backed away. I didn't say anything. This is why you people think I'm dumb. It's because you think things go unnoticed, when in reality, I'm just surveying the scene. I didn't say anything because at the time I was like, whatever, she's nosy. I'll let it slide. Well, piecemealing this stuff together, that tends to stand out to me. What was she doing? What was the point of going through my paperwork? Just nosy? I had noticed that some investment paperwork that I had right out on top of a stack of papers had been rifled through. I keep it all in chronological order of when the mail is received, so yeah, I noticed that. Moving on. I go up to, it's my first visit, first plane trip with my little baby angel boy. This is spring of 2024. He's now 6-7 months old at the time. I go up to Michigan to visit my family. And my friend, he reaches out to me, my ex-friend. He's like, hey, I'd love to see you if you're in town. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Again, still not piecemealing any of this together. So I'm just like, of course, it's been like a year and a half since I've seen you. I've since had a child. I'm going to be up in Michigan. I'd love to like get a drink with you and just catch you up. We had really good conversation. Like we were really good conversationalists together. So I agree to meet him. This is where if you were to read or to listen to one of my videos on Into the Mystic, where I initially called all this out, I was really angry in that video, but I did mention this visit at the hotel room and the weird things that I made a mental note of, such as, him offering me a drink, me not taking it, but yet room service showed up in like 0.2 seconds and like gave him a prepared beverage, and I saw him put a blue pill in his and then try to offer it to me, and I'm like, no thanks, all that shit happened in this same visit, right? And so I go to the bathroom. I'm about to leave because I just saw him, put something in this drink, and I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I go to the bathroom. When I come out, I notice my purse has been rifled through, namely my wallet, and my ID had been moved. Same with my credit card. Again, OCD. I keep everything very organized. Think maybe somebody who has a history of fraud on their record might have taken a picture of my license during that time when I was in the bathroom. It was prime opportunity for him to do something. And especially if his wife now knows that we're communicating, wouldn't surprise me if she came up with a grand plan to steal my identity and possibly sell it for money. I mean, he was going through hard times. Yeah. I noticed that too. I clocked that. Didn't say anything. Clocked it though. Little mental note. That's an IOU. You're going to want to keep that one for later. Yeah, I did. All right. So that happens, right? All right, well, let's pivot into, again, April 2024 was a big month for these people. This is where they really went hard. All right, so by this point, I'm telling, I've already discussed it with my ex, December of 2023 going into 2024. That, divorce is what I would like for us. So I initiated that process right before all of this stuff happened. Well, let's close the loop on how we might think that they were monitoring me inside my home outside of CCTV. Well, if you're connected to the government in some sort of way, which these people seemingly are, right? USPS. Hacking of devices. I was talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to. I don't know. But I remember a phone conversation I had spring 2024 in my home. By this point, my ex is already moved out. He's living elsewhere. So it's just me and my little boy. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to get this home prepared to sell. I absolutely need to get my exterior windows cleaned. It's all about curb appeal and natural light when it comes to real estate and selling your home. So I made that mental note and I mentioned it to somebody. I don't know, somebody in the family. It wasn't like some random, but it was a phone conversation. Well, what happens? The very next fucking day. Very next fucking day. Hi, how can I help you? Open up my door. One absolutely gorgeous black man was standing in front of me, and I'm like gazing into his piercing blue eyes. He was beautiful. Ugh. Well, he's like, hey, we're walking around your neighborhood wondering, do you need any help cleaning your exterior windows? I'm like, well, aren't you just a fucking angel? I was just talking about that. Yes, absolutely. I do need my windows cleaned. How did you know? And I'm like, God, awesome. So I hire him. Want to know how much I paid for a window cleaning? All exterior windows. And I didn't live in like a small house. There was like 20 something windows for these people to clean. $100. What a fucking steal. Yeah, they had to come in at some point. He even offered, he was like, hey, I can put these window screens up in your attic for you. Would that be helpful? Well, I've got a newborn, so I'm like, yeah, God, you are just a beautiful little mocha angel, aren't you? Was that his opportunity to fucking set something up in my home? I wasn't like, I'm not the type to micromanage people or just like be totally paranoid about everyone. So I wasn't like monitoring these people as they were going around my house. Come to find out a year later, because I did keep this gentleman's card. Again, I keep everything. I'm a hoarder. An organized hoarder at that. But April 12th, 2024 is when they cleaned my windows and possibly set something up in my home. Microphones, probably. So now my phone's hacked. Microphones in my home. Did they have the ability to set up, I don't know, cameras somewhere in my home? Maybe. Again, I wasn't watching them. I should have. I forgive myself for that now, but yeah, window cleaners. I also have his name too, and he does have a record. I found that out like a year later. I forgive myself for that. But any agents who need more information, I have his contact information if you'd like to look into that. Okay, moving right along. This is fun, isn't it? Yeah, I love closing the loop on some of these little bits and pieces for you guys to like be like, oh my God, she does actually have some factual based information. She's not just a spiritual weirdo who talks in like vernacular that we can't understand. No. Do you guys see how well I'm put together and can actually have this make sense? So that just sort of deletes your talking point of I don't know what I'm talking about and that I'm mentally unstable. I'm actually so stable and so patient that I just let you guys think whatever you want to think. But a pretty face can't be intelligent at the same time, can they? No. Those two don't mix. Let's move on. All right. So by this point, this is like fall, winter, spring, 2023, 2024, right? All of this stuff is sort of happening simultaneously. Again, I put all the pieces together just this past year. So I'm making notes as I go along of these weird things happening to me. All right, so we're working. My dad passes. My dad had already passed by this point. And I started to notice there was just like, we were trying to sell my dad's commercial business, still are, and we would just get these inquiries that, when you have a business in downtown Detroit, and as any like well-rounded, aware realtor would do, I ran backgrounds on these people, right? Like, I'm not fucking getting taken advantage of by people that, just want to take what isn't theirs. So I did my due diligence on these people that would inquire on my dad's home or my dad's business in downtown Detroit. One of which is a scam artist. I found out that like he claimed that he was a quote unquote property manager of like hundreds of like, rentals in like he owned a property management business in Detroit. Fraudulent. Doesn't actually exist. That was one person that inquired on my dad's shop, was really incessant on like getting a land contract with us, something to where it like secures the property, gets it into his name, but like he really doesn't have a whole lot of skin in the game. Jason Dean was his name. Anyway, I made sure to tell my family, like, look, this guy is a fucking scam artist. I looked into him. It took me all of 10 minutes to fucking realize that, like, dude isn't real. Told him that. Told my family that, right? Well, then this led me down a path of, like, my intuition starting to go bing, 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 bing. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what's happening? So I start looking into, we get this Forewarn app through the National Association of Realtors. It's a part of my dues, and it's a safety precaution for realtors, especially women realtors in this day and age, to do background checks on leads that come through so that you don't get fucking murdered in your open house and then left for dead. So I started running background checks just out of curiosity on Zach, on his family, turned into my family too, this Jason Dean character. Like, I went down the rabbit hole. And I started to notice that there were fraudulent names of people in my family, like a lot of different naming conventions of my own family members in this Forewarn app. So for instance, my grandma that has since passed, her name's Marjorie Oren. Well, when I looked that up, there's like a Marjorie Oren who's like 2 years younger than her. Slightly different name variation, different spelling, but Marjorie Oren, still in Michigan. Like lots of different profiles of like her, my dad's name, like people that have passed. And I'm like, okay, this isn't just a fucking coincidence. Like maybe one or two people, right? But like my maiden name is very unique. I already knew because of like when Facebook first came out, I wanted to see if there was another Casey Hakela out in the world. There was something similar, but it wasn't like directly Casey Hakela. And that person was real. But I continued to do these background checks, and I'm like, every single fucking member of our family, even cousins and stuff, we all had the same thing going on. We all had slightly different naming conventions of our name, round about same age, but it's being pulled up like under my name. I would type in Casey March and it would pull up as an alias like Casey with one S, Hakela. And it was like, no, that's not me. So I go to the profile. No phone history, no property address history, but like car history on there. So are these people running a fraudulent car insurance scam too? I noticed a lot of profiles with cars. Only cars under their name. Who worked at an insurance company during this time? I know Zach did. He got out of jail and got a job at an insurance company. Is he tied to that? Maybe. You know, you would think after me calling him out all these times and making it public, why hasn't he sent me a cease and desist letter or like slapped a lawsuit on me? Maybe it's because if he does, he knows he's going to be exposed for a lot more. Yeah. So anyway, I tell my family about my findings and I'm like, something weird is fucking going on. I don't know what it is, but I'm just letting you guys know. And everyone was kind of like, we don't know what to do with this information. I didn't know what to do with it either. So I continued on. Very quickly thereafter, spring 2024, I go back to that Forewarn app and I'm like, let me just see if something's changed, right? Because now I've started like calling it out on Twitter. I'm like talking about it. This is where people were like, she's fucking insane. Like, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about. Like, hate campaign, right? Because by this point, the music industry sacrifice is going on. He's got to save face. So what better way to do that than to throw me under the bus as though I'm fucking crazy? He knows what's going on, but nobody else does. So anyway, spring 2024, I go back to the Forewarn app and I research myself and my dad's name. What do I find? 2 new insurance policies under us from the same bank. Wasn't there before. Where'd those come from? Possibly a life insurance policy? You guys already had a plot and a plan to take me out? Thought that the death spells were actually going to come through and happen and that you guys would just fucking walk away with millions of dollars because I'm dead. Not to mention all the other insurance scams that you guys fucking probably ran. Yeah, I noticed that. Told my family. It was like a family phone call and I was like, and a group text message at the time. I hadn't blocked them yet. Didn't know that, didn't think that they were wrapped up into anything. So I'm like, hey, I even sent them a picture of it. Hey, there's fucking, like, I don't know where this unclaimed property is or what it's doing, but it wasn't there a couple months ago and now it is. Jeffrey, I need you to look into this. Because he was the executor of my dad's estate at this time, right? Did anything ever come up of it? No, never heard about it again. Why didn't I do anything about it? Oh, I don't know, because I have a newborn and I'm going through a divorce and I'm trying to fucking sell my house and also manage to my own life because I do still need to continue making money. At this time, I was supporting my ex who was going to rehab. Paid close to $10,000 for him to do that. So yeah, I need to focus on my actual job and supporting my family because he hadn't had a job. He had just quit his job. So now I'm the sole supporter of my family. Do I have enough time to look into unclaimed property that in my mind was probably just like a couple of $100 that, was like, I don't even fucking care. I care more so about what's going on with my dad's estate. Jeffrey, do you mind looking into this? I never looked back at the unclaimed property until a couple months later. And what did I find? It was fucking gone. Mysteriously gone from both my dad's and my name. Who got the benefits of that? I do not know. I do not know. But maybe you guys do. All right. So then, let's see. What other bits and pieces of information have I missed here? Okay. Like I said, spring 2024 is really when things fucking kicked up. March, April 2024. So by this point, no, March, April 2024, I'm getting my son ready for daycare. Early in the morning, I look outside. There's a blacked out Denali. None of my neighbors have Denali's. It's parked directly across the street from my house. Perfect vantage point to watch my comings and goings. Yeah, I see them just posted outside of my home, staring at me. I know there's people in the car. I see them. I can't make out who they are, but I see them there. Get my son in the car, and I start driving to daycare. Well, they're following me. So I have a lead foot. I get that from my grandma. She was a powder puff race car champion. Thanks, Grams, for giving me those driving capabilities, because I noticed very quickly that they were following me, tailing me. So I fucking hop, skipped, and jumped real quick onto the interstate and lost them. Never to be found again. Who was in that car? I don't know. What were they planning to do? I don't know. But it stayed with me long enough to where I wrote it down. Then, spring 2024, again. This is where the chipping and the trespassing and breaking and entering of my home happened. And, get SA'd by my brother and this gangbang. Yeah, that happened same exact fucking time, right around spring 2024. Now, why didn't I go to the police if I woke up the next day and I was all sore? Well, I continuously shoot myself in the fucking foot for not doing so. I'm following my intuition on that one, but I'm following my intuition now. I think a part of me just could not fucking fathom that my brother could do this to me. And so I chalked it up to it just being one really bad nightmare. It's like, surely there's no way Carrie, the protector of the family, the one in the armed forces, the one who stands by truth and honor and valor, absolutely fucking not. So I continuously told myself that it just had to be a really bad dream. Like, you made that up. I gaslighted myself. Which is exactly what they wanted. So I didn't say anything. Didn't get a rape test done. Didn't press charges or anything. So that happened the same time. Now, this is where I'm starting to be like, something weird's fucking going on. Something is up. So I got real paranoid with it. Another part of this music industry sacrifice. They want you to deal with your own fears, put you in fear, especially if they have something that they don't want you to talk about. They want you to shut up. Because I was posting on Twitter already. I hadn't started my YouTube channel just yet. So, I started taking pictures on my phone of random cars that were posted outside my home. Cars that would follow me. I started noticing a lot of government vehicles around me. You can tell by their license plates. Every day. Either posted out in front of my home or just consistently driving by. So I started taking pictures of license plates. Started writing things down. A couple weeks later, I go back into my phone to start referencing some of these pictures because I'm still writing things down. They were all fucking deleted. My phone has been hacked. Somebody is deleting the evidence that I have. They knew the exact pictures to take. So the government is definitely involved. Police are definitely involved. Now, whether that's local or federal, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. That was summer 2024. Also simultaneous to this time. Because now I'm looking into fucking everything. Everyone's a suspect. Zach's mom starts trolling me on social media, right? She's an artist. And I'm like, why is she drawing fucking pictures of me? Come to find out, they weren't me. It was actually his side piece who semi looks like me. She's also the fucking crazy bitch that probably worked with his ex to do all this shit to me and him. But anyway, I thought it was me at the time. So I'm like, why the fuck is your mom trolling me? What's her fucking problem? If you didn't watch my last video where I'm wearing the vertically striped shirt, go back and watch that. That needs to be the first one, and then you come back to this one. All right, so I tell him about his fucked up family, right? And that's where we end communication. Well, that is right around Easter time, 2024. Pictures being deleted from my phone. AT&T up on my telephone pole outside my house. I'm writing all of this down. And I'm like, why is AT&T up in front of our house? Like, the conduits have already been placed. It's not like new construction was being built to where like they needed to run a new line. So this is an established neighborhood to where AT&T, it's not like there was a power outage or anything. What was the purpose of them getting up on that pole? It could be for electrical purposes, you know, could be. But I don't think so. Not when there's too many connections like this going on. So, notice that. Again, I'm all paranoid. Fucking trying to figure out what's going on in my life. Summer 2024 still. I'm still talking, ranting on Twitter. I since deleted all of those messages, but I would love if somebody on Elon's team or like a forensic whomever could go back and pull up some of those tweets I made, because I would like to see how accurate I fucking was. I was calling out premonitions of future events that had yet to happen at this time. And that's why everyone fucking called me crazy. That's why he called me crazy. He thought I was crazy. He didn't realize that I was actually psychic. I didn't realize I was psychic either at the time. I was just calling stuff out. And I was pissed at him because he just fucking like, I was a good friend to him. So I'm like, how do you just disregard like what I'm trying to call out to you about your family? Like, didn't even give me the opportunity to really explain myself. Like, he just hung up. He just didn't want to hear it. Probably already knew, didn't want to hear it, or was being taken advantage of himself. And he's just so dumb that he like didn't put two and two together, and certainly didn't listen to me. So anyway, I was pissed off that like, you know, he did what he did, and now shit's going on in my life, and I was getting these downloads at the time, and so I just started calling him out on Twitter. I would love if somebody could go back in history and pull those up just to see what I said, first of all, because I can't even remember. Second of all, if it actually is true. Maybe we can get Elon to do that. Anyway, all right. I noticed, again, still summer. This is a time where things really kicked up. Started noticing a red Honda drive by my house every single fucking day. Well, I went out there. I was starting to get so pissed off at these people, like government officials, you know, their cars driving everywhere. I've already been chased by a Denali. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? My mailbox fucking broken again. Like, I'm just pissed. And so I noticed this red Honda driving up and down the street. So I go out there one day and I'm just fucking mean mugging them. Like, what? Because they like slowed down and they just want to like, you know, like drive by real slow. And I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? So I go out on my driveway and I'm like, I'm going to wait for this man. It was pretty consistent in terms of like, I would get home and then maybe like 5 minutes later, I'd see this dude drive by. So he was probably just, you know, clocking my whereabouts, tracking my car. I did drive a Tesla at the time, so that's not very hard to hack if you're in the government, right? Yeah. So I made a mental note of this dude in the red Honda who would drive by me. He got some crazy hair. I think it was braided. Yes, unfortunately, it was another black male. I wish I could say it was like a white male or a woman even, you know, like mix it up, but always the poor black man, right? So anyway, he's driving by my house. Well, one day I'm just fucking mean mugging him and he slows by. He slows down. I really could have gotten hurt. Again, how am I fucking alive? I don't know, but this is another point in time where it's like I could have been a fucking goner, but I'm not. Anyway, I went out to the end of my driveway and I was like, I'm just gonna wait for this man to fucking drive by so I can get a real good look at his face and his license plate. Again, the picture was deleted from my phone, so I don't have that. But when he drove by, I'm telling you, it was like this. It was like, and he goes like this. And I just fucking flicked him off too. And we're just like, it was like, slow-mo. I remember that day. And I started laughing because I was like, this is hysterical. Like, we're just staring back at each other. I know he hates me. I don't even know the man. Never seen him before in my entire life. But he's tracking me and like hates me for some reason. So anyway, that happened. Again, forensics, if you want to go back in my phone and you can pull up old pictures. I don't know if Apple has the ability to do that, but yeah, you'd find a picture of that car and maybe you could trace it back to somebody. I don't know. I tried to place police reports on some of this stuff, but nobody really wanted to come and follow up with me. So that's another lawsuit I'll have on my agenda, is the fact that Nashville Police Department, the negligence there, huge. You guys have a big fucking lawsuit coming to your city, the city that I love, that I've lived in for over 20 years, have seen the growth of. You guys fucking fucked me over. Didn't help me out at all. So, there's that. All right, well, again, summer 2024. Now I'm paranoid, fearful, sad because I'm going through a divorce, confused because I don't know what the fuck is going on. Feel like I've been raped, but don't have any proof of that. It wasn't on my Ring camera, so you can get into my house, you know, any other way. It's not that hard. You could just pick a deadbolt and a lock on the back door and just bypass that ring, so it's not very fucking hard. But anyway, I started to notice like drones flying over my house. Not one, not two. I have videos of it on my phone still. Yeah, like I'll go outside at night. It would always be at night too. It wasn't ever like during the day. I would see maybe one or two during the day, but more so at night. I noticed at one point there was like 4 drones on my house. And it was consistent. It was every night. So I'm staring up at him and I'm like, fuck you, giving him kisses. Like, I don't know who it is, you know? At this time, I'm like, maybe people are actually listening to me on Twitter and I'm being, like, protected. Nah. Nah. I wasn't being protected. I was being watched. Maybe the government thought I was involved with this seediness or these characters. Or maybe they just wanted to see how the chipping was coming along. Because that had already happened. I had already been sexually assaulted and chipped. Which I believe might be Neuralink. I might be wrong. But then again, I might be really, really fucking accurate the way I have been this entire time. So, what else happened? So that's drones flying over my house. Winter 2024 going into 2025. Also around this time, my engagement and wedding rings just mysteriously went missing from my home. Again, my husband or ex at the time didn't live there. He has a pretty cushy lifestyle in an affluent area here in Nashville with his parents. Like, his family has money. So is there a need for him to steal my wedding rings and wedding band? In my mind at the time, no. Now looking back on it, if somebody had a smear campaign and a hate campaign against me and maybe told him things that he didn't want to hear, like I cheated on him or something like that, then yeah, I can kind of see him taking advantage of the situation and getting back at me by taking my wedding rings. But I don't know that to be certain. So am I calling him out or placing him in as a part of this? No. I'm just calling it out as a fact that my shit went missing. I don't know, my neighbors at the time were going through some hard times of their own, down on luck, out of jobs. If somebody wanted to start a smear campaign against me and, make up lies and shit, yeah, I can see how they would have easy access to our home. One of our neighbors, close friends, has keys to our house. Who's to say they didn't just fucking show up and unlock the door and just have a clean break and take it? Yeah, I do have an alarm system on my home, but then again, if this was like an inside job in some sort of way to get back at me for something I, in their minds, did to them, then it's pretty easy to bypass the security and just disarm the alarm from your phone. My phone's already been hacked, so it's not that hard. You probably have passwords to every fucking thing. I don't know. But wedding rings, wedding band goes missing. I had also made a note. I was like writing in my journal, January of 2024, just about the thoughts that I had. I had put my rings back on and, I was reminiscing about like happy memories of my marriage and like how much I love this ring. And I wrote that down with a date, like a diary, Well, then I noticed that they're missing. Sometime between January and March, I noticed that they're missing. Never showed back up. I always thought that they would, but they didn't. Which reminds me, I need to place a claim on those. So, I need to get on that. I've just kind of been busy moving and, I don't know, solving my own fucking crime. That I just haven't had enough time to place the claim yet. But I will. let's talk about some of my repressed memories that have come to the surface over the past year. One of the very first memories that I can ever remember with my family was a very odd drop off at a park when I was probably 2 or 3. There's a picture of me with my mom. And I just remember it being so odd because I can't remember who dropped me off or what, but it was at a random park with my mom. Was that some sort of weird handoff? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But that's the very first memory I seemingly have with family. I remember I have repressed memories of a very bad car accident, and when EMS picked me up, I remember the gentleman saying, it's a miracle she's still alive, and like handed me off to somebody at the time. But they were like so fucking shocked because this was such a bad car accident when I was that little that I really should not have survived. And they knew that. And he even said it. He was like, I don't know how she's living still. That's how my grandma knew the divine favor. When the jaws of life need to be called to extract the people that have perished from an accident, but yet I walk away a little child, a little baby with nothing but a scratch. She saw that. She knew it was God's favor. That's where it all started. So I remember that. I always thought it was fucking weird when you go back into my childhood albums, my baby albums. I only have one. And it goes, I wish I could find it. It's in my storage unit, but one day I will show you guys. But there's a gap of time where there's no pictures of me at all. It goes from like newborn to Casey, I don't know, 1 to 2 years in. And I continuously ask my mom, I'm like, where the fuck are the other pictures? You guys just so busy with Aaliyah and I that like you didn't take any pictures of me? Or perhaps I was with another family at that time and had yet to come into their worlds. Why don't I have pictures? Even in Aaliyah's baby album, you would think that there would be pictures of her and me. You know, she's 4 years older than me. Would there be any pictures when she was, 5 or 6 and I was like 1 or 2? Maybe 1 or 2 pictures. There's not a lot. Where was I? Who was I with? Who was taking care of me? Are you my mommy? I don't fucking know. Just saying, this is weird shit. These are all a part of the pieces that I'm putting together. I remember being with my grandma at church. She was so faith-led that like she spent a lot of fucking time at church. And I remember being down in like a basement or something. And I was playing with a friend at the time. And I can't remember if it was a girl or a boy. I really can't. I tried to go back there and remember it, but I can't. It was my best friend at the time. I was probably like, I don't know, I want to say I was like 4 maybe. We were playing downstairs. It was like after hours. You could tell it was late outside. And we were like playing hide and go seek. Well, we had like come across a group of adults in this like conference room wearing red cloaks. And they had like a child. There was like a line of children. They had like a line, not like a whole bunch of children, but like 2 or 3 lined up outside the door, outside of this conference room. And they called them in one at a time. and they would lay this child on the table. Well, I remember specifically that day, I said, they caught me staring into this room because I was so mesmerized at what they were doing. They were chanting something, and I just remember like the red cloaks, and it kind of just like took me aback, and I was just like so curious. I was a really curious kid. And so my aunt, Colleen, at the time, like caught me at the door, and she goes, "How long have you been standing there?" And I go, "What were you doing?" And she goes, "What did you see?" And I'm like, "I saw that kid's soul fly up." Because in my head, I really truly remember like a white apparition from somebody, like a little kid's body that they had just called into the room, and it went up into the air. And I remember calling that out to her, and she goes, "What did you say?" And I said, "Yeah, that kid's soul went up into the air. Like, what are you guys doing, basically?" And I remember the look in her eyes. She was like, "Come here." And she pulled me in the room, and she goes, "Tell them what you just told me." And so I told the group that. And these were familiar faces. My aunt was there. My Uncle Mike was there. Zach's mom was there, and Zach's father was there too. And my grandma. She wasn't in a red cloak though. So they sat me in this big chair, and I'm telling them what I saw. And they start to do something. It was almost like they started to anoint my head. But my grandma came in just at the right moment, and she goes, no, not her. She's off limits." And I just remember thinking at the time, like, thank you, God, she saved me. But I didn't know from what. After she left, they did do something to my head. I don't know what it was. It's not like they hurt me or anything at the time. But like a week or two later, I was at that church again, and I kept asking my grandma, like, "Where's my friend? The friend that I was playing hide and go seek with, like my best friend at the time." I was like, "Where did they go?" Like, I loved hanging out with this person. And they were like, "What friend?" Gaslighting a little kid, because that's easy to do. And so after so many times of me asking, I stopped asking, and they stopped mentioning anything about it. It's almost like it never even existed. That child was never a friend. They never existed. That's a memory I remember. What else do I remember? I remember going back to that same conference room, not the same day, it was a different day, and this was like during the day. I was standing up, and again, they were all in red cloaks. Could really only see their face. Like, their mouth wasn't covered up or anything. It was just the cloak itself, their clothes. And I remember her, this woman with piercing blue eyes, looks very similar to Zach's mother. I remember looking at her and being like, "Mommy." And she goes, "I'm not your mommy. This is your mommy." Is she really my mommy? Or is my mommy my mommy? Are you my mommy? I don't fucking know. That's just one random memory I remember. Another gaslighting moment in my life. But I remember those piercing blue eyes. It was like, you can't forget them, because they stay with you. Again, another thing that has just been left with me, a little stepping stone in my life to make these connections too. I didn't remember this fucking memory until a couple years ago, and I was like it'd kind of been following me around for my entire life, but I would have like this memory of it, and then like several years would go by and I'd have it again, and it kind of felt like deja vu. But the more I like sort of drew on it, and the more I was like, no, that was an actual memory. That wasn't like some fucking nightmare I just made up in my head. No, that was real. All right, so that happens. I told you about the accident. So as I'm making these connections this past year, actually a couple months ago, I did a 23andMe DNA test. What did I find? Well, that all the extended family members and their last names in my family, they don't align to the last names that I'm aware of. I sort of chalked this up to like, well, I do know that my dad was adopted by his stepfather, and he didn't know his biological father, so maybe these are family members that I just don't know because they don't know me, and, you know, my dad was never tied to that family. You would think some of the last names, though, would ring a bell, or that you would have heard them in, like, family stories at some point. But no, I don't know any of these people. I've reached out to them, too, on 23andMe to, like, try to get some additional information about their lineage on the father's side, because I would assume that, like, I don't know whether this is on my father's side or mother's side, but like, the closest relative that pulled up it's a first cousin once removed and has a last name that is not tied to my dad's original last name, which should have been White. White is nowhere to be found in the family tree. Yet another betrayal. I'm on to ya. What other repressed memories came up? I don't know if you can see it. I also don't know what, it's this side. You guys can see the stitches and the scar right there. When I was 2 or 3 and living in Detroit with my dad, and whom I think is my biological mom, I don't know. The neighbors that we played with, we would play with them all the time, and this is just one bit of like another favor over my life. They were playing with their dad's golf clubs, like little kids, right? Well, I was little enough to where I was just like bebopping around the front yard, and I walked right into his swing, and he fucking whacked me so hard that like I went flying across the front yard, rushed to the ER, had to get several stitches in my eye, and should have taken my fucking eye out, especially with me being a little girl, tiny, like that space between your eyeball and your fucking, like, where the scar actually is. I should be without an eyeball right now. Again, favor, right? Now, whether these people are a part of this cult or not, I don't know. It's just one thing that I feel like is tied to this. And it's a real fact about my life. All right, so that happens. 2018, 2019, I'm showing homes. I get into a 5-car pileup. I'm the 3rd car in this 5-car pileup. It wasn't my fault. Somebody 2 cars in front of me just stopped to make a left-hand turn. It was rush hour traffic, and it was on a back road too. And they were just waiting for cars to come while the person behind me was on their phone, Hispanic man, on his phone, and fucking rammed into me going 40 miles an hour. I have a tiny little Mazda 3. Itty bitty thing. Manual too, because I'm a really good fucking stick driver, just to let you guys know. But, yeah, I'm the 3rd one in this crash, this pileup. So he hits me going 40. I fucking ram into the Denali in front of me, who then rams into the van in front of him, and then 2 cars behind, we're all piled up. I should have been squashed. It was a truck that hit me and a Denali in front of me, tiny little Mazda, going 40 miles an hour. Walked away with a scratch. Yet again, favor. I'm so thankful that I'm still alive. What's another sort of weird thing, repressed memory that I feel like is tied to this? My dad, when my grandma passed, she passed just a few months before my dad, about 7 or 8 months before my dad passed away. She passed away. And I always thought it was so weird how my dad was like the black sheep amongst his siblings. Like, yeah, the man's gone through some things and, you know, has a history and like, you know, we all have secrets, but like, I didn't think it was worth him being outcasted the way he was. And I always thought it was weird that when Grandma died, they made it a point to make sure my dad was kept out of any sort of conversations in regards to that whole process. Now, why would that be? Well, maybe they have their own beef, you know, amongst siblings, and they just don't want to like involve him or trust him. But I think something seedier was going on, such as, you know, my grandma she was probably paid off to adopt me, you know, if this was a plot my entire life. Or she just had money to her name and was going to leave it to me because I do have financial literacy amongst the family members. Seems to me that they wanted to keep my dad out of that, so not only would he not know what's going on, but I wouldn't know. Did my dad ever get like a little bit of money? Yeah, he got a tiny bit of money from that. Is it weird? Yeah. I still think it's fucking weird that like my dad wasn't brought into the loop at all. Wasn't there the day he died or the day she died. But yet everyone was given a heads up that like today was her last day. No, he wasn't invited over until she actually passed. Why is that? Secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone. I don't know. Let's talk about odd things that my ex-friend said to me that I remembered, made little mental notes about. So I mentioned, you know, when he visited me, that very first time, and we hadn't seen each other like since school, I mentioned that he, you know, had a huge quantity of, I don't know what they were, Percocets, could be something else, who knows, during his fall 2022 visit to Nashville. So that was one weird thing. During that same visit, he told me his ex was, well, I know she's Russian, but he said that she was a part of the mafia. So am I making that statement? No, I'm regurgitating what he said to me. So there's that. 3, he tells me December of 2022 that he is so excited. He goes, this is all in text message. And I've since deleted all of our text messages to one another. I wish I didn't, just so that I could go back and piecemeal some of this stuff together, because I probably could pull out a lot more information from those text messages, but I'll leave that up to forensics to look into. Yeah, so he texts me and he goes, I'm so excited about what I'm working on. Like, I was so stoked for the dude because he had just gone through like a lot, you know, I knew he was going through a divorce or whatever. And that he's just had it rough. And so I was really rooting for the guy. Several times did he say, like, you're the only person I can trust. And so he told me all excited, like, oh my God, I'm working on something right now. I can't tell you what it is, but just know that I'm excited about it and I'll tell you when I can. What I now know that to be that he was working on, because the timeline just makes sense, was that if he was working on that December 2023, or was it 2022? I have 2022 down, but going into 2023, it wouldn't surprise me if he was working on, this was a part of the music industry sacrifice, like he was working on an album with somebody, possibly a little baby at the time, and he was just so stoked about it. Yeah. I just thought it was weird that he was like why couldn't he tell me at the time? Maybe he signed an NDA and it was just like, you can't talk about this until the album's actually released. But he was so excited to tell me about it. Like, he's like, it was almost like I got a gift for you, sort of thing. So I just let it go. I was like, whatever, I don't know what that means, but excited for you, man. Like, way to go. Another sort of weird fucking thing. He was the very first person to text me, congratulations, right after I had my kid. Like, I'm talking about, I was still on the delivery, like the labor and delivery room table. I'm looking at my phone, you know, getting excited to tell family or whatever. And he's the first person that reaches out. How did he know? I hadn't even like posted anything yet. Hacking my phone much? Did you know what was going on? Yeah. So that's just like an odd thing that sort of stuck with me that I made a mental note of. Let's talk about this potential connection, another potential connection to a cult outside of my brother, because I do have my own memories of and experiences of red cloaks and shit. But if there was a hate campaign within the music industry that was set off by either my ex-best friend or somebody else, I don't know, I can see how... So I went to school, elementary school, with Brandon Jackson, the actor. And he was also in Kendrick Lamar's They Not Like Not Like Us music video. He was front row and center. Why? Why is he front row and center for Kendrick Lamar's fucking music video? Are they best friends? Do you know him? Does he call you at home? I don't know. But I found that to be weird. And I watched a podcast one day where Brandon's talking about a fucking cult he was a part of, but he didn't realize he was a part of a cult. Think that Brandon, because we all grew up together, me, Brandon, and Zach. I can see how Zach would have affiliations to the music industry. So would Brandon, apparently, being front row and center for They Not Like Us. Yeah, he goes on this podcast. I think it was like The Breakfast Club or something. I can't remember what it is. But he's like, I didn't know it was a cult growing up with it. I'm not saying Brandon is attached to this. I'm just saying that it's a connection, another connection to a cult, where I didn't make the assumption. He came out and said he didn't know he was in a cult. So if Zach is trying to just like finagle around and like he has a loud mouth, talks to everybody, I can see how he might have made his way into a cult and didn't realize it as well. Connection? I don't know. I just made a mental note of it. Let's talk about my brother Barry and why he has issues with me. Well, it's no secret that if you were to do a background check on him, you'd see he has a long, extensive history of pedophilia and indecent exposure to minors. He's always given me the creeps growing up. And it's also probably a part of the reason why he was estranged from the family. Maybe he was doing something to me when I was a little girl. I don't know. I'm not saying that he did. I'm just saying that it would make sense as to why he was living with our family and then all of a sudden was kicked out. Think there might be a little bit of resentment there for that. Could be. Kind of feels like a castaway. Keep in mind, he and my older sister, they have different relationships with my father than I ever did. So, that could have been the start of his issues with me. Yeah, always made me feel weird, always made weird sexual comments towards me growing up and now. Not that I still talk to him now, but just, for certain events that like he had been around for in the past couple of years. Yeah, he made some sexual comments towards me that just made me feel weird. So, I started talking about that with the family, not in any sort of like loud sort of way, but I don't know, if people are all plotting against me, I can totally see how somebody might just want to extend upon that, be like, yeah, and she was saying this about you too, and blah, 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 blah. Well, if a narcissist, he believes that he's the smartest fucking man alive. He talks about how he's a genius all the fucking time, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys are giving yourselves away. Just shut up. If they had just shut up most of their lives, I probably wouldn't have figured this out. But because they all have fucking loud mouths, and I'm the only quiet, like, one that just wants to, like, tell me everything, because that's how I've always been. Yeah. I can see how that would be a little annoying to you. So anyway, I started talking about like, hey, you guys know about Barry's background? Yeah, and now we have him posted up in Dad's fucking shop because my dad lived in the loft space above his mechanic shop in downtown Detroit. We need somebody to watch over that while, we were going through probate, so it only made sense that Barry lived there. Well, what's he gonna do with all of his fucking time? It's not like he has a job in Detroit. So he went around talking to all, like, dude would get the scoop on everyone. He was actually very helpful in that sort of way. But I can see how certain pieces of information that had gotten back to him, or just like talking to neighbors in the area, yeah, he probably made some connections there too. So he's staying in my dad's shop. You think he has access to not only contacts, but potential pieces of paperwork that my dad left around the office. Keep in mind, my dad just straight up and fucking died on the sidewalks of downtown Detroit outside of a courthouse because he was trying to take care of something in court. Possibly get things straightened away with like a will or a trust, maybe something that was left to me, but he caught wind of by just snooping around. Yeah, I could see that happening. So I kept telling my family, I'm like, I don't like this. Barry's gonna have squatters' rights. We need to get him the fuck out. He's a little skeezy. And I just didn't like it. It was like, what are we trying to save? Like, other than the tools and stuff inside my dad's shop, like, what are we trying to save here? It's like in really bad shape. So let's get him the fuck out of there because it's not making any of us feel better. Plus, he was having randos over to the loft, like a young gentleman. My brothers caught him. I don't think they caught him doing anything, but they made a mental note of it and said it. They said it was so fucking weird that some random boy was up there with him. Yeah, I believe he's on the DL. Wouldn't surprise me if he's the one that actually has an STD as well. Maybe is spreading that around. within a group of people, I could see that happening. But then again, that's an assumption I don't want to make. I just want to state that he's got a loud fucking mouth, and I wouldn't put it past him to make the right connections with the wrong people if he wanted to get something done, and maybe had a long, extended level of resentment towards me. Especially if everyone is starting to find out that maybe my dad did leave her something, but nobody else. Yeah. We can't let that happen. Okay. Let's pivot over to my sister. So my sister starts showing signs of psychosis. We all made mental notes of this. Starting in around, 2021, 2022. Just talking about like conspiracies, how she's, I don't know what the correct term is, but how she is like basically excommunicating herself from the United States so that she doesn't have to pay taxes. But yet she's a practicing realtor in Florida. How does that work? If you excommunicate yourself, first of all, what's the point of that? Because she kept talking about cryptocurrencies so much. She was like, this is where it's at. This is where everything's at. And Trump's going to do this and blah, 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 blah. Think maybe that coincides with the timeline of my dad passing, possible payouts of an insurance policy, to then all of a sudden her speaking crazy conspiracies, and to a point to where like everyone in the family is like, she's like, what is she talking about? Like, we can't get on the phone with her without homegirl blowing up on us about some sort of random conspiracy that she's aware of. She made the, I don't know if it was a mistake or just a slip up on her part, but she starts telling me about just a plan her and Barry had. They were like, hey, we're thinking about getting an insurance policy on Dad. This was before he passed, because we all knew that he was sick. But yet he didn't pass the way you would think he would pass, being sick with cancer. He died of a heart attack. Anyway, she tells me that her and Barry had this, idea of getting an insurance policy on Dad, and that would I like to be a part of it? And I go, yeah, absolutely. I think that's unfortunately, like a great idea. So just keep me posted. Let me know. Happy to pay the premiums, whatever. Well, that just was never brought up again, ever. I didn't think twice about it. Again, I'm dealing with my own shit. I have a lot going on in my own life that I am the furthest one removed from the probate process of my dad. Also, another great opportunity for them to just run rampant, because Casey is not really involved. Yeah. What else? Oh, she also admits to, so one of her trips to Jamaica and Cuba, she admits to me that when she was in Jamaica, she goes, yeah, I went and saw like a psychic or like a priestess or something. And she goes, I had her look into every single one of you. Well, what do you think she found out in those readings or whatever? What do you think she did? Is it possible that with the insurance money that she got, she could have paid a practitioner, I don't know, run some fucking more death spells? I mean, my dad just straight up and keeled over and died. My grandma, I'll chalk it up to her dying of old age because she was old. My aunt, Colleen, and what's my other aunt's name? Anyway, Aunt Colleen just straight up and died. She was seemingly healthy. Like, there was no reason for her to die. But she straight up and died. This is all within like a 2 to 3 year time span. So we've had a couple dogs die. My dad dies. My grandma dies. My Aunt Colleen dies. Another one of my aunt dies. Our financial advisor down here in Nashville, he just straight up died. Now that was a suicide, but these practitioners also do suicide spells too, so is it all connected? I don't know. I'm just telling you the facts that these people all straight up and died around me within a very short span of time. So if you guys find out in your investigation that there is a shit ton of money being spent on black magic, my family is proof that that shit actually does happen. And there's a lot of other people out there that have the same fucking story. And we need to stop pretending as though this shit isn't real. If there's one thing that I plan to do outside of doing good for children, for orphaned children outside of this mess, I plan to put laws in place to where people can't practice black magic. Do you know how many people that would save in this world? A lot. More than you would think. So Elon, instead of focusing on trying to get the the mortality rates up and the birth rates up, maybe we should focus on putting laws in place to where black magic is illegal. Maybe we'd see the birth rate go up after that. Because they focus on black and brown children. A lot of these cults do. We need to stop closing our eyes to these things. Or maybe, just maybe, there is a bigger issue with the government and somehow they are, I don't know, being rewarded somehow. Remember how I said in my first video that they'd like to take advantage of spiritually gifted people? There's a benefit in keeping us quiet, I would think. God forbid we put laws in place to where, corrupt officials can't run out their schemes because it's been running on for so long. How else am I going to send drones out there if I can't fucking do black magic to her, actual black magic, or if we want to call smear campaigns and shit talking and, setting somebody up for identity theft and fraud and all that shit, that's another version of black magic. So vernacular wise, terminology wise, those two are synonymous. Okay? So don't be so naive when I say certain terms that it's like, oh, that is so far outside of our realm. She must be crazy. No, I actually mean like this is what people do. They set people up. You have officials, corrupt officials that have power to do certain things to people that they just don't like, or to people that have money on the table who look seemingly vulnerable. See how all this is just piling up? It's like when I say this was the dumbest criminal organization I've ever met in my life, it is. And it's not just one organization. Obviously, as you can tell, it's multiple. The fact that I'm still alive is unbelievable. I keep telling you guys this, and it's like I'm giving you all of these bits and pieces. I've been talking for 2 hours now, nonstop. I think that's validation enough. I think this probably trumps any sort of testimony these people tried to have on me. Do they have 2 hours worth of information that can contend everything I've said here today? Why don't you go ahead and test them on that? All right, so we checked off Barry, we checked off Zach, we checked off Aaliyah. Moving on, who's next? Okay, let's do like a quick connection to celebrities, elite, and, other occultists. So outside of the music industry, sacrifice, Illuminati, and fucking cults and shit. Another person in my world that has connections to high profile people would be my Aunt Kathy. Aunt Kathy, close family friend. Her father passed away a few years ago, and I never really, I didn't meet the gentleman, but he was the leader of some sort of church or church group. I had never gone to that church before. Again, never really have been spiritual, was raised Catholic, but really like tried to steer clear of Catholicism growing up. That's a whole nother part of my story, but yeah, I just like, I don't practice religion. I still really don't. I consider myself more spiritual, but anyway, she took over the family business, her father's business, the last couple of years, and has gotten really into her faith, and which seemingly is a beautiful thing. But there's connections to, like, she owns several properties, but there's a secondary property she has in like the southern Florida area. I can't remember if it's like Key West or Boca or somewhere in the southern part, but she owns a high rise, like a condo and a high rise, where she hobnobs with the elites of the world. And, she had my stepmom down there over the summer of 2024 and just showed her a great time. She was talking about it, how she has connections to football players and politicians, all sorts of things. Has a shit ton of money too. Her daughter, who lives here in Nashville, coincidentally, she's from Michigan. Everyone's from Michigan, but she has since made her way down to Nashville, is going to school for ministry, goes to Belmont. Now, would there be a connection to an old lady hag cult in Florida connected to elites and all sorts of things? I mean, at this point, I've already been chipped. I've already been being monitored. Celebrities are already, watching me or aware of me. If, I've already been chipped. The CCTV's already been set up. Think maybe word got around with this old hag cult. I call it an old hag cult because I know she's connected to other female celebrities and high profile people. So I think maybe she was like, oh, I have an in with this girl. If I'm on a watch list and people want to know more about me, I think maybe she might have had an inside scoop for some of these people. I can see that. Also around this same time, which was spring 2024, again, everything happened spring, summer 2024. She bought a house here in Nashville. Thought it was sort of weird that she didn't choose to use the one realtor she knows here in Nashville. It's not like she has lived here to where she knows anybody. Yeah, I get a little salty sometimes when people don't use me, but I mean, in real estate, you kind of have to have a backbone and not take things personally, because family and friends will inevitably use other realtors. So you kind of have to get over that relatively quickly, and I did. But it makes sense, though, that if like maybe some of the first payouts of these insurance scams and, I don't know, possibly government tests that were being run, that you think some of the payouts started to happen around this time to where she could afford a whole other new home. In Nashville, prices in Nashville are not cheap. I mean, the average home in Davidson County is, I mean, at the time, like 550. So $500,000. Yeah, she's got some money. Am I saying she's involved? No, I didn't say that. Just saying these are just little bits and pieces of information that I have that might make a connection, might not. But who else has connections in Florida other than my sister who lives in Jacksonville? Well, Zach's family. Boca, to be specific. There's a whole bunch of snowbirds. Loves to go down to Florida, you know, get away from the cold in Michigan and post up and live the life. They also have connections to property in Florida, like a lot. Not cheap ones either. I think maybe in this whole conglomerate of people that, I don't know, word may have gotten around to the wrong folks and connections were made and plots were planned. That seems like a likely thing that could happen amongst a close-knit group of people that all kind of hobnob in the same sort of organization. I did say that in one of my memories, my repressed memories from the cult, that I remember Zach's mom and dad and my aunts there. Coincidental? Yeah, we'll just forget about that. It's all a coincidence, right? Just don't look at that. Pay no mind to the guy behind the fucking curtain. Moving on. Real quickly, just to close this out, I want to tell you guys about the random people that have just straight up fucking died over the course of a 4-year time span. Are they connected? I don't know. Could be. Could be a coincidence. But, so, my father-in-law, Ron, died of a stroke. 2019. Then, my father died of a heart attack. Streets of Detroit. Alone. 2022. My grandma died. I'll chalk it up to old age. That was 2022 as well. Aunt Colleen, she dies last year, 2024. Radar, our beloved family dog, died 2023 or 2024. Hurley, Aaliyah's dog, died last year. My financial advisor died of suicide. That one's a little bit more far-fetched than all the other ones, but it's a lot of people just straight up dying in a very short amount of time, but could be a coincidence. I don't know. Just letting you guys know. You should really see how many death spells were paid for, and I'm being fucking serious about that. That's how death spells work, by the way. One day you're walking down the street, the next you're like... It's funny, but it's not. Why do you think people pay for them? Pay thousands and thousands of dollars for them? Because that shit actually works. Again, need a documentary. With my last video and now this video, we're 3 hours in, people. So, these are bits and pieces of facts that I have gathered over the past year and a half. I'll leave it up to the officials to make connections here. Because inevitably there's a trial that is bound to happen or will happen here shortly or has been happening and I just was never involved. This is my testimony. So, I hope my lack of spiritual terminology was helpful and has shed some light on the fact that, like, I can toggle in and out of, using certain pieces of vocabulary at certain times. The same way I can control my emotions too, so that just sort of goes ahead and debunks everything you guys said about my mental health, right? Feeling it kind of choking you, getting you all like, I can't speak. Yeah, because I'm closing in on you fuckers. Until the next testimony, until then, I have one piece of really, really prime time information that will totally set this whole thing asunder. So, attempt to do something towards me one more fucking time. And I'm gonna burn this mother down. Oh wait, you guys already did, right? Because I'm sure that's a part of your process too. Arson, maybe, somewhere in there. Surely somebody's an arsonist in this group. I don't know, I'll let you guys figure that out. Oh, this was fun, and it was healing. It was indeed. Alrighty, my dears, my angels. I shall return for more. To be continued. Bye-bye.